students, you can be assisted by your TA using the Kakao Talk. So I will post the Kakao ID of your TA. So this is also posted in the last lecture board. So when you are using either, you have two choices. One is interactive mode. The other is batch mode. Okay. So in any case, you submit your Python code to your idle, and your idle submit your statement to your Python interpreter, and it will return the result. Okay. So when you confirm that your program is correct, you can submit the same program to your NeoESPA, and NeoESPA can evaluate your program using 10 test cases, and then return the result as a score to you. Okay? So all these programs, either Python interpreter, NeoESPA, and test engine, are called application software. And as you know, your application software is executed on top of the operating system. And you have a subpart of the operating system, which is called a file system. And the file system has a special encoding method to encode the foreign characters, such as Koreans and other characters. So you need in your code coding directive. So UTF-8 is encouraged for your coding directive. This is for portable software. So in your idle and Python interpreter is mostly executed on top of the Windows. But the NeoESPA is working on Linux. Okay, so they have different internals for the operating system. And your operating system is on top of BIOS. Okay, and the BIOS is working on top of the hardware. Okay, so your Python interpreter is requesting your operating system to show this program, and it is requesting BIOS, hardware, and hardware shows it actually on your monitor. Okay, type hello, something. Okay, so in this mechanism, you can use all the hardwares using your code. Okay, so you have learned the code, should start coding directive, and you have learned input of some code, and inputs should be transformed into an integer using an int keyword, and then you can print to the output of d times 2. Okay, so you have used the two primitive functions, which is called input for input, print for output. Okay, so this is the basic. This is the basic. So you, as far as I know, all of you have installed your Python interpreter and your idle. Okay, there can be another software for rather than idle for more built-in software such as VS Code and PyCharm or PyScripter. Those are called IDE. Okay. So the IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Once open the IDE, so it is a set of programs in an integrated view. One important program is called editor. So you can edit your program file. Another window is called console. for output and input. Okay, so idle has different windows. For editor, you have to open a file. So it is a file window, and console is called Python shell. It is called Python shell. Okay, and others for debuggers and something. So mostly in your most IDE, they are integrated, but idle is not integrated. They have separate window for file and shell. Okay, so once you enter the whole program, you can request run your model using your F5 command, F5 keyboard typing. So when you enter F5, so it will be executed on the shell. And you can take a look and you can modify and you may request again. So when you write a code, it is just a file as I described before. Then maybe let's call it dos.py, okay, which is a difference of scales, not this operating system. So when you write a program, your program has a specific structure. So Python program structure is a sequence of statements. So statement 1 and statement 2, statement 3, those can be a sequence of statements in your Python program. Okay? And there's a special kind of statement which is called declarations. Okay? So declaration is for you introducing you a new name. It is for define a name. Okay, so why are you using name? It is actually for value or some other object. So there are two kinds of objects up to now. One is called variable. The other is called function. Okay, and variable is for some value, such as 1, 2, or 5. Those values can be referred by your declaration. Another kind is a function. This is for some task. So the task itself is a sequence of statements. Okay? So you can define two kinds of names. One is variable, the other is function. For variable, you are using assignment operator. Okay? For function, you are using def keyword. Okay? But you need some task should be indented into here. So you can add task using def task with some parentheses and colon. Okay, these are the required syntax. For a variable value, you can define the value just equals 2. Okay, using this is just an example. Value is 2. Okay, so from that point, you can use your value as integer 2. Okay, from now on, you can use a task for executing these statements. Okay, but from the last lecture, you have learned your function may take an argument. Okay, that argument has two aspects. So when you define star of n is called argument. So you can define some of the statements. This is n, not h. And when you're calling the star from another side, star 10, then 10 is transferred to here. Okay? So you can call this as an actual argument. And you can call this n as a parameter. And the correspondence of argument parameter is occurring when you call a certain function. Okay? So I'll take this example from your PC screen. So you can, and in any time you can add this KakaoTalk ID to ask to Mr. Liu for the section 103 and HTK 1122 to ask Mr. He for who is responsible for the section 104. Okay. So let's switch to the PC screen. So I'll execute the idle. It is not the Python interpreter. Seems to be deleted. Should I insert it again? Okay, so I can copy the Python interpreter again. So it seems that due to the hard disk sharing, it seems to be deleted. So I copy from the archive, but it is quite an old version, but let's copy of it. Okay, copy those in Ugyen, and I can execute. It is quite an old version. So it is preferred to install this to a certain location. So you may select add Python 3.7 to your path, but customize the installation. Please click this. Okay, because you are going to select the D drive. So in such cases, it is deleted again. So Python 3. Okay. So install. So once it is installed, it is automatically added to your path. But in case when the path is deleted, then you can recover it just adding the path from the Python interpreter. Okay, so close. So once it is installed, you can type idle. Okay. So how about the code? How about the font? It is also deleted. So in that case, I prefer Courier or Consolas. Consolas is such a pretty one, and I'd like to enlarge this a little bit. Okay. Apply. Okay. Is it to this one? So when you like to type something, a plus 2, this is an error because a is not defined. So you can define a is 27 and a plus 2, this is correct. Okay? The same way, you can define a star to print star. Print 5 stars here. So you can call star will print 5 stars. Okay? But it is hard to maintain because you have to retype it again in order to recover it from scratch. So it is preferable make a new file. So in this case, I'd like to make a new file to print A is 27 and def star with print 5 stars. Okay? And then you can call star and print A and star again. Okay? So you can save this file menu with the save, but this is a shortcut. So it means when you press in Control and S again, then it will automatically save. Okay? So you can select a menu or you can select a shortcut. In my case, I'd like to save it to D drive. This is my folder. So in my Python code, I can type *5. Okay? So when you like to run module, you can select this one, but there's another shortcut, F5. So instead of selecting this menu, I'd like to prefer press F5. So it is automatically executed. 5 stars is printed, 27 for value of A, 5 stars are printed. Okay? But your boss is changing his mind that 5 star is too small. How about 7 stars? So you have to change the star from 7. But in another case, your boss is changing his mind again. How about 10 stars? So you may have 10 stars and you can change the name of the star of star 10. Okay, 10 characters of star. But beware, 10 star is not allowed. If you move 10 to 10 star, that is not a valid identifier. Your identifier, that means your name should start with an alphabet. Okay? So 10 star is not correct name, but star 10 is good name. So when you execute this again, 10 stars are printed. But in that case, how about move this 10 into an argument? Okay? Instead of move this 10 into an argument, then you can accept an argument here and here, even though n is not used inside of it. Okay? Then you can execute, save this one, and executing the same result. But if you really want 7 stars, instead of 10 stars, you may change this as 7, expecting that 7 stars will be printed, but it is not. Okay, why? It is not printed because this is hardwired. So you may use while n is greater than 0, print a star with end, this one, at the end of the while loop, print a new line. And n is decremented, and -1 is stored here. Then let's take a look. If n is 0, nothing is printed because 0 is not greater than 0. Just a new line is printed. If n is 1, n is positive, so n is greater than 0, single star is printed without new line, okay, and with empty string without new line, and n is decremented. So singleton star will be printed. So when you execute this, it will truly print 7 stars, okay? So the function is powerful enough. So when you are decided, okay, let's print this in another while loop. So you may define A is 27. You defined A here, 27. And you are using while loop. If A is greater than 0, then you'd like to print star A. And A is decremented by 1. Okay? So can you imagine 27 stars will be printed, decremented by 1, 26 stars will be printed until A becomes 0. Okay? When A becomes 0, it is not greater than 0, so it is terminated. Executing this, so your program is printing from 27 to 0 stars. Okay? So you can do the similar thing with, so you can do very powerful thing. So another powerful aspect of Python function is that if you are using the multiplication of a string, you can even print the star with star times n. Okay? Much simpler than the previous one. Same result. So this is called the black box rule of your function. So you can make your code as a black box using function. So you can alter the definition inside of function, okay? Inside of function. So it is very important to understand the black box rule, okay? So you can write a code, and internal implementation of a function can be changed anytime when the code satisfies the requirements for the function. Okay. So let's take a look of today's question. Any questions up to now? Then please use the TA. So let's go to your NeoSPA page. NeoSPA. Can log on. And in the homework section, you can take a look at your laboratory work. Okay, so let's open this. With your system viewer, you may take a look. Okay, so let's just enlarge this a little bit using this is lecture. How about zoom in? Okay. So so it seems that the resolution itself is not so good. Okay. So anyway, let's be satisfied with this. So using functions in Python, a function can name a block of statements. So in this case, this function is named a block of these two statements. Also, the functions are useful to organize your program. Okay, you have to remember the keyword def here to define a certain function in Python. A function may accept several arguments. In this case, it accepts two arguments for repeating the character C, okay, or string. So the character C is repeated n times, and the string S is printed. Okay, so you can do the similar thing instead of star. Okay, so let's take a look of your star again. So you may rename this, save as repeat the pi. Okay, and instead of A here, you can read N from your input. Okay, so your Python interpreter will be waiting for your input, and then you'd like to repeat character star n times and repeat character sharp n times. Okay, and the repeat should be defined here. Character C is stored into S. Character C is repeated n times, and S is printed here. Okay, so when you execute this, this is waiting. So just enter 5 or 10, then 10 stars, and 10 hash marks are printed. Okay, so if I change the program that instead of printing just 10 stars or stars and 10 hash mark, you would like to print it 10 times, print them 10 times. Then you can do the while loop. Okay, while n is greater than 0, repeat n, and n is decremented by 1. Okay, so once you execute this again, it is waiting. So when you enter 10, 10 printed, 9 printed, 7 printed, 8 printed, 7 printed. Okay, similar to before. Okay, so once you'd like to print 10 times as a rectangular shape, how can you do that? You can store the previous n into another variable m and printing m, and n is just repeating it. Okay, so when you execute this, you may enter 5. Okay, then it is not decremented. The 5 constant is stored in another variable, so it is printed like this. Okay. Okay, so why not? So as a black box rule, then this is the only location using S. You can inline S instead of C times N. That means you are deleting S totally and then using C times N every time. Okay? So according to the black box rule, even though you change the definition of a repeat, the requirement is preserved, and then the execution result is same as before. So let's enter 5 in order to compare them. Okay, so with the help of the black box code rule, So your function is executed as expected. Okay? So what is today's problem? Okay, today's problem is printing the board. Your program should read two positive integers, not one. Two positive integers in separate lines. One is n, the other is m, where n and m are the numbers of rows and columns. So let's assume that you have entered 2 for n, 3 for m. That means you should print 2 rows, 2 slots, and 3 slots in a column. Okay, so each slot should have 3 spaces inside. Okay, so here this is just denoting the empty space. So you can print them. You can print them like this. Once you'd like to print a box here, df box. Okay, so you can print plus, minus, 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 plus. Okay, this is your first line. And print bar, space, 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 bar. This is the second line. And print again, print plus, minus, 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 plus. This is a single box. Okay, single box. So when you print 3 boxes in a row, you can execute, you can call box, okay, n minus 1. But this is not quite true, okay, but let's examine it. So when you store this and print, okay, let's enter 1. So it is truly printing 1 box. It seems good, okay? But when you're entering 2, the second box will be executed, will be printed with additional 1, okay? So when you execute this again and printing 2, so you should remove the internal, this one, okay? So the problem is that your box does not know how many rows to be printed, okay? So if your box is getting some n as a row, okay, then you may do the while loop inside of the box, okay, as a hint of today. Inside of the box, and your box, you can use your box. Your box may print while row is greater than 0. Print these 2, so you can have an indentation of this, selecting these 2, and edit format indent reason. Okay, so these 2 will be executed according to the number of rows. But in order to do that, you should print decrement row. Without it, this will incur infinite loop. Okay, when I print just 2, infinite loop. Okay, because the number of rows is not decremented. So in that case, just control break or control C. Okay, control C will break it. So the reason is that you did not decrement the row here. Row should be row minus 1. Okay, and then you can try this again. Printing 3 boxes is printed in a row. Okay, but you have to read two two numbers, two integers. That is a secret. Okay. So anyway, you can do I do not want to solve all the problems, but if you'd like to another m as an int of input, okay, so you may print box n. So as you know, you should transfer this as column, okay, box as a column, okay, and then this is waiting for some other input, 2, 3, but only printing 2 rows. But your program should print 3 columns. Okay, 3 columns for that. So as another hint, you are using print here, print a line here. So you know that these two statements is repeated. So instead of print that, you can define a line. Okay, line. It is just printing a line here. So instead of print that, you may print a line instead of this one. Okay. So the same thing is not repeated, and the result is same. Okay, 2, 3. So each of the integers n and m is given in a single line of the standard input. Standard input means just typing from the keyboard. Your program should print the board to the standard output. Beware, the spaces of the board should be printed by the space characters only, so not tab or other characters. So additional requirements for the bonus points, your TA will examine this. If we define and use meaningful functions to print the slots, so it will take, so you can use a single function or several functions for that. The function should not return a value. Okay, in this case, you are just accepting parameters and printing it. Does not return a value. So when you're entering 1, 4, it will print 1 row, 4 columns. Okay, when you print 2, 3, it will print 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay. So as usual, this will be closed 9 a.m. tomorrow. How about that? 9 p.m. How about 12 p.m. noon? At noon. Is it okay? Chatting. So you have many quick questions. Yes, it is spacebar. So I exemplify them from your Python shell. Okay? From your Python shell, these are the spaces. Okay? And is it okay for you for 12 p.m. 12 p.m. tomorrow? That means noon. Okay? Just an hour before. 30 p.m. 13 p.m. Good? Okay, so because some of you prefer at the morning coding, so I delayed it 3 hours. Okay, so if everyone is okay, then it seems good. Okay. So do you have any questions? You may try it now. You may try it now. For myself, I'd like to try to submit it. Okay, how can you submit it? Just click Submit Code. And you please rename that. Your code name should be bold the pie. So I'd like to rename this from repeat, save as bold the pie. Bold the pie. Okay, I renamed this successfully. Even though this is not a good program, I'd like to select this in D drive in my page here. Oh, not here, Python code. Python code. Okay, so bold the pie is selected. Okay, and you just click upload here. Oh, wow, I can get to 30 points with the wrong code. Okay, so you can, everyone get at least 20 points with that wrong code. That means there's a single column inputs, in your test case. Okay. So please remember this code. This is 20-point code. Okay. Then you may safely leave this online lecture room. Thank you all for attending this online lecture, the second lecture. So I'll try the recorded one to the another section, which is what was that? Section 103. Okay. But temporarily it may be announced in YouTube because of some of the persons who is now attended in all who is now attending in section 104. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, this is the end of today's lecture. Bye bye. See you next time.